I was standing in the middle of my kitchen, staring at a grocery list that was 3 pages long, when I realized I was expected to provide a 5-course Christmas dinner for my father and 30 of his relatives who I haven't spoken to in over a decade. He didn't ask me if I was free, he didn't ask if I could afford it, and he certainly didn't ask if I wanted 30 strangers trashing my new home. He simply sent a group text to the entire extended family saying Christmas is at my daughter's place this year. She's doing the full spread. And then blocked my number so I couldn't argue. Was I wrong for what I did next? Or would you have reached your breaking point too? Tell me if you would have just sucked it up for the sake of family. Or if you would have done exactly what I did and vanished into thin air the moment they pulled into the driveway. This whole nightmare started about 6 months ago, when I finally bought my first house. It's a beautiful, mid-century modern place with a huge open, concept living area and a deck that looks out over the woods. I worked 3 jobs for 5 years to save for the down payment, and I was so proud of myself. My father, whom I've had a rocky relationship with since he left my mom when I was 10, suddenly decided he wanted to be part of my life again once he saw photos of the mansion I'd bought. He's the kind of man who views everyone else's success as a resource he's entitled to tap into. For months he'd been hinting that he wanted to see the place, and I'd been politely making excuses because I knew exactly what would happen. Then came the December 1st text. It wasn't a request, it was an announcement. He told his sisters, his cousins, their kids, and even some people I'm pretty sure aren't actually related to us, that I would be hosting the grand family reunion Christmas. He told them I'd be providing the turkey, the ham, the sides, the drinks, and that because I have so much space, everyone from out of town could just bring a sleeping bag and crash on my floors. I spent 3 days trying to call him, but he'd set his phone to Do Not Disturb for my contact. When I called my Aunt Linda to tell her I couldn't do it, she gasped and told me I was being un-Christian and selfish. Because my father had already promised everyone a big celebration after such a hard year, the pressure was immense. My mailbox started filling up with RSVPs from people I hadn't seen since I was in diapers, all of them telling me what they were allergic to and what kind of expensive wine they preferred. My father finally called me back on December 15th, not to apologize, but to tell me that he'd promised his new girlfriend's kids that I'd have high-end gift baskets waiting for them because I made so much money. I felt my blood boiling. I realized then that I wasn't a daughter to him. I was a catering hall and a bank account. I spent the next week pretending to go along with it. I joined the group chat. I asked for everyone's favorite side dishes. I told them I was so excited to host them all. I even sent out a fake menu that included prime rib and lobster tails. Meanwhile, I was quietly packing a suitcase. I booked a non-refundable, luxury solo spa retreat at a resort 4 states away. I didn't tell a soul. On December 23rd, I went to the grocery store and bought exactly 3 things: a bottle of expensive champagne, a small box of chocolates, and a giant Merry Christmas banner. On the morning of Christmas Eve, the day they were all supposed to arrive at 4:00 p.m. for the kick-off dinner, I woke up early. I cleaned my house until it sparked, but I didn't put out a single chair. I didn't buy a single potato. I took the Merry Christmas banner and taped it to the inside of my front window, but I wrote a very specific message on the back of it in giant black marker. So that is the situation I was in. I was being used by a man who hadn't bought me a birthday card in 10 years, and 30 strangers were currently in their cars, driving toward my home expecting a feast I never agreed to cook. Before I tell you about the moment they arrived and the absolute chaos that followed when they realized I wasn't there, I want you to pause and comment below. What would you have done? Would you have cooked the meal just to keep the peace, or would you have taken the nuclear option like I did? Let me know in the comments because I really need to know if I'm the villain in this story. By 2:00 p.m. on Christmas Eve, I was 60 miles away, sipping a latte and driving toward the mountains. I had turned off the GPS tracking on my phone and set my status to away. Back at my house, I had left the front door locked, the gate to the driveway padlocked, and a very large, laminated sign taped to the front door. The sign simply said, "Since Dad decided to invite you all without asking me, I decided to let him handle the catering and the hosting too. I'm on vacation. If you're hungry, there's a McDonald's 3 miles down the road. Merry Christmas." I had also left a smaller note specifically for my father that read, "I hope the 30 people you lied to are as understanding as you expected me to be. Don't call me until 2027. Around 4:15 p.m., my phone started vibrating so hard it almost fell off the passenger seat of my car. I had muted the calls, but the notifications for the group chat were still popping up on my dashboard screen. It was a bloodbath. First it was the "We're here," "Where are you?" messages. Then, 5 minutes later, the tone changed. My Aunt Linda posted a photo of the sign on my door with the caption, "Is this some kind of sick joke?" My father's messages started rolling in, and they went from "Sweetie, open the door," "This isn't funny," to "You are ruining my life," in a matter of seconds. Apparently, he had arrived with his new girlfriend and her 3 kids, all of them dressed in matching Christmas pajamas for the photos he planned to take in my mansion. He didn't have a backup plan. He didn't have a hotel reservation. He didn't even have a bag of chips. He had told everyone that I was providing everything. My cousins were complaining that they'd driven 6 hours with toddlers who were now screaming because they were hungry. My father's brothers were furious because they'd spent money on gas and high-end outfits, expecting a luxury experience. The group chat became a war zone of people blaming my father for lying, and my father trying to deflect the blame onto me for being unstable. I spent the evening at my resort, checking into a room with a fireplace and a king-sized bed. I ordered room service, a massive steak and a bottle of wine, and watched the drama unfold from a distance. My father tried to call me 34 times. He left a voicemail that was mostly just him screaming about how I had embarrassed him in front of his girlfriend, and how the family was never going to forgive me. I just deleted it. The best part was when my neighbor, who I'm friends with, texted me a video. She said there were about 10 cars parked all over my street. People were arguing on my lawn, and eventually the police showed up because someone, probably my dad, tried to break into my back sliding door to get the food started. The police told them that if they didn't leave the private property immediately, they'd all be spent Christmas in the local jail. Watching 30 people pile back into their cars in the dark, in the snow, with no place to go, was the best Christmas gift I've ever given myself. The aftermath was intense. My father was essentially exiled from that side of the family for his deception. He had to pay for 3 hotel rooms for the relatives who couldn't drive back that night, which cost him more than he's spent on me in my entire life. My siblings, who weren't invited because they actually like me, thought it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. I stayed at the spa for a full week, blocking every single person who sent me a hateful message. I realized that by trying to please a man who didn't care about me, I was only hurting myself. Now my house is a sanctuary again, and my father knows that his access to my life has been permanently revoked. Looking back, I don't regret a single second of it. Sometimes the only way to deal with people who have no boundaries is to build a wall they can't climb. I learned that family isn't about blood, it's about respect, and if you don't respect me, you don't get a seat at my table, or even a look inside my house. Like this video, if you think I was right to stand my ground and vanish. Subscribe for more stories about setting boundaries and dealing with entitled relatives. Share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. Would you have let them in, or would you have headed for the mountains too? I'll see you all in the next story.